This, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2014 Rolls-Royce Wraith. And of course, yes, these are suicide doors, and yes, they are soft touch close, and yes, this is the most powerful Rolls-Royce that has ever been built. And Rolls flew me down here to beautiful Arizona to test drive what is probably one of the most expensive cars that I've ever driven. And that is coming up next on the Fast Lane Car. Now there's no mistaking this big vehicle as a Rolls-Royce, especially with that imposing front grille. The whole front of the car is very reminiscent of the Ghost, but when you get to the back, that's where things change pretty drastically. Check out this fastback, which Rolls says is unique to the segment and of course unique to the brand. Now, I think most of our viewers will know that Rolls-Royce is in the BMW family.
Yes.
So is this a little BMW kink I'm seeing right here? Is this a little bit of that?
The Hofmeister kink?
Yeah,
no,
I'm wondering if that's a little bit, if that was any inspiration.
No, I'd say we're one of the things that I've come to appreciate as being part of the BMW group is they're very, very good at giving brands room to breathe. So they're focused on understanding what a Rolls-Royce is and what it should be in the future. So I don't think there's any sort of meddling between the two at all.
I'm in the new Wraith in the passenger seat with my man Mark Carter from
The Torque Report, thetorquereport.com.
thetorquereport.com. Check that out. And I have the important specs here. You were driving it like a madman, Mark. You look like driving like you stole it.
I forgot. It has lots of power.
Yes, it does indeed have lots of power. It's also relatively expensive. MSRP $284, but as tested, get this, $358,000. Now, fuel consumption, 13 in the city, 21 on the highway, which isn't bad, huh?
Not bad. I wonder what I'm actually getting then.
Well, it says 15 combined. So, can you figure out how to get to that? You probably can.
No.
No, there's a lot of buttons here, and we're really not sure what they all do. Now, once upon a time, when you asked the folks at Rolls how powerful their engines were, how powerful their cars were, they would say the power was adequate. Well, today, not anymore. This is a V12 twin turbo that puts out, get this, 624 horsepower and 590 pound-foot of torque. It is twin turbocharged, which makes for silky smooth power delivery, which is what you'd expect from a Rolls-Royce. I've got a bit of flat road ahead of me, so I'm going to see how fast the Wraith is, 0 to 60. Pretty straightforward. Since it's a turbo, I'm gonna brake torque it a little bit. Now keep in mind that we never get the time which the manufacturer says that's under perfect condition. So here we go. There we go. It's fast. There go the turbos. There's 60. Oh, check it out. 5.25. 5.25. Now Rolls-Royce says 4.4. We are a little bit higher than sea level, I believe. I'm not exactly sure how much higher, but we are at sea level. Nevertheless, we didn't quite get the numbers that Rolls-Royce claims we should be able to get. You know what? I'm going to do it one more time.
Please follow the road for 4 miles.
And see if I can go just a little bit quicker. I'm going to take the camera down, and we're going to see if we can just go a little bit faster. Here we go. One more time. 0 to 60. Flat bit of road ahead of me. 5.25 is what I got to beat. All right, here we go. Okay, Solo DL is ready to go. Here we go. Brake torquing just a little bit. Oh yeah, a little bit of wheel spin. And there's 60. Oh, I knew that would be faster. See, second time around. 4.97. 4.97. So we did go under 5 seconds. We didn't get the 4.4, but you know, this is a very impromptu 0 to 60, and We'll have to see how it does when we get it back to Colorado, where undoubtedly it will be just a little bit slower because we'll of course be at a mile above sea level.
Turn right in 700 feet and then immediately
I think I better
turn
shut up
left.
because the navigation system is gonna yell at me.
Now turn right.
Of course. So, how does the Wraith drive? Well, I think the best way to describe it would be two words: stately and speedy. Obviously, when you have an engine that puts out over 600 horsepower, there's going to be a lot of get up and go, just like that. And there was just a hint, just a whiff of turbo lag, but nothing that I think anybody's going to lose sleep over. It's a big, it's a heavy, and it's a powerful car. And so you don't expect this to drive like, say, a Ferrari, even a Ferrari FF. This is the kind of car that you want to get into on the weekend when you're heading off to brunch and you want to show off the fact that you are wealthy enough to have the spirit of ecstasy there on your hood, and you've got your significant other next to you. Not that you're my significant other, but you're heading off to brunch and you want to do it in comfort and in style and do it at a brisk pace. Make no mistake, this is not a sports car, and I think Rolls-Royce knows that. It's just too much heft to have it be something like, let's say, even a Porsche Panamera Turbo. And speaking of a Porsche Panamera Turbo S, which in some ways this might compete with, Ferrari FF, Aston Martin Rapide. I'm just trying to think of cars that are in the price range that seat four. Of course, this is a coupe, as the British would say, and those cars are four-door cars, so that does put it in a somewhat different class. But there aren't a lot of competitors, at least not direct competitors. Perhaps the Bentley Continental GT would be one that comes to mind. And having driven that car, I can tell you that's a bit more sporty. This is a bit more stately. They're different. Not better, not worse, just different. Oh my, that is not particularly loud, but then of course, this is the kind of car that you want to be seen in and not heard in. The steering is heavy, but somewhat uncommunicative. The brakes, same deal, heavy and somewhat uncommunicative. But you know, no one's going to be flogging this thing around a canyon. This is not meant to carve corners. This is meant to transport you in ultimate luxury and ultimate comfort. And I think for that, and in that sort of style, it excels. Now here's another interesting thing about these suicide doors. They make for a rather easy entry and egress from the back seat. And speaking of the back seat, you know, I fit back here. Plenty of headroom, plenty of shoulder room, but let's face it, this is not the kind of car where owners are going to spend a lot of time sitting in the back. Oh no, with over 600 horsepower, that's not where you want to be. Here is where you want to be. Does it speak to me? No. Maybe I'm just not, well, let's face it, I can't afford to buy this car. In fact, my house is probably worth less than this car. And that's a daunting thing, to be driving a car that's worth more than your house. And so, yeah, I'm not in this rarefied air. Had I, would I, could I, if I had $1 billion, I don't know, I'm sure $500 million, several hundred million. So does Nathan fit? Let's find out. All right, I bet you were expecting my man to pop out of the trunk, but I'm here alone today. In fact, this trunk is very deep, and if you hear that pump, that's air suspension. If you've got a lot of gold to transport, this is the car to do it, because it won't be squatting down on its rear wheels. What I can tell you is that it does get a lot of looks. When people see that it's a Rolls-Royce, they know that you have arrived, and you are certainly somebody important. And I think that's important to a lot of people. I think that status is important, and this car conveys it like very few others do. And if that is something that is important to you, and if you want perfection, which is what Rolls-Royce would say this is, then yeah, go ahead, spend $350,000 on a car. For me, you know, I would be perfectly happy with a Volkswagen GTI and no house payment. Let's put it that way. There's nothing fake, there's nothing cheap, there's nothing out of place here, but there is this kind of interesting tension between the old and the new. There's a sense that there's a lot of technology in place underneath the skin of the car, but when you get and you feel the car, when you see the controls, these are very old school, very traditional. And of course, you get, whoops, the most expensive umbrella in the world with the Rolls-Royce logo on it. And perhaps my favorite feature, which is great if you're trying to impress people, is the fact that you can't be bothered to close the door yourself. Not in the Rolls-Royce. All you do is push the button. Check it out. My very own Rolls-Royce valet at the touch of a finger. How cool is that? Normally when I'm behind the wheel, I kind of tend to flog the car, but I just feel that would be somehow wrong and against this car's character. So I'm just going to sit back and let the miles roll past me. I think in a lot of ways this would be the ultimate American long-distance traveling companion. This thing just gobbles miles. Before you know it, you're doing 120 miles an hour and you really can't tell. There's a Challenger in front of me, and I have no question that if I wanted to, I could blow his doors off quite easily. But the fact is, driving along, you just don't want to. It's not well dignified. So on the TFL scale of buy it, lease it, rent it, or forget it, I'm not going to rate it because I've only driven this car a few hours, and it wouldn't be fair to you or the car if I were to rate it after such a short time behind the wheel. But I can tell you right now that America is Rolls-Royce's largest market. And overall, they only sell about 3,500 cars a year. And I'm pretty certain that there'll be enough people raising their hands saying, I want a Wraith for a comfortable, sporty, fashionable, and of course, exclusive car to drive to brunch every Sunday. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Car. Thanks for watching, and remember, subscribe for a new car video every day.
Please make a U-turn if possible. Please make a U-turn if possible. Please make a U-turn if possible.
Wow. That is annoying. I'm not sure if this particular car has an issue with the navigation system, but I certainly do. That's crazy. Google Maps seems like a gift from God compared to this navigation system. Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
I agree.
He agrees.